Hello, friends, and thank you for joining me with my friend and colleague, and actually fellow student at one point in our lives, Alistair Hawkes. Alistair is going to be sharing us now for her third appearance here, the details of the work that she and I have both experienced, but she's now applying professionally of Dr. Lianna Matulich that they're calling Hike for Evolution. And I've experienced a lot of this work. It is absolutely incredible in terms of the channels that it opens, the capacities that it opens for people, and it does it quite quickly. So today, we've agreed. Hi, Alistair.
Hey,
Um,
Bill.
we've agreed that she's going to really be talking and sharing with you some of the nuts and bolts of the work and what it is that gets people aligned with and into these processes rapidly and deeply. And to me, that's the real good news of this. So thank you, and yeah, welcome back.
Thank you so much, Bill. It's really exciting to be here. I am grateful for the opportunity to talk about this work again.
Great. Well, it's your show. Let's go.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so well, just to give a little bit of background, Bill and I know each other through a mutual teacher named Lianna Matulich, who he just mentioned a few minutes ago, and she has developed a system of self-development and self-transformation that she calls Hike for Evolution. The hike part of it stands for human inner keys for evolution, and inner keys are things that we discover within ourselves as we do these practices in this wonderfully well-developed system that she's passing down to us and through us. And every single student that Lianna has taught comes into the system at the place where they are. It doesn't matter where you are in your physical, energetic, emotional, mental, spiritual evolution. You can come into the Hike for Evolution system at whatever developmental stage you're at and use these practices to propel you forward. So, having said that much, I'll say that there are 5 basic practices in the Hike for Evolution system that we teach to all students. As you progress in the system, you'll learn more and more practices, but there are 5 basic ones that just about everybody uses, and it's a foundation. The principles of somatic practice, mindfulness, meditation, these are the elements of the system itself. And then the somatic practices, the mindfulness exercises, the stories that we tell, the metaphors that we use, the analogies that reveal themselves as we do this work are all elements that we can utilize to or that become those inner keys as we recognize ourselves more and more at these deeper levels. So, somatic practice. What's a somatic practice? It's a body-based practice. So there's a body element to this system, there is an emotional element to this system, and there's an energetic or spiritual element to this system. The somatic part of the practices helps us become more attuned and um, capable of affecting our physiology, the physical matter that makes us up as a human being. The first practice we use is called axis. And axis is a line of energy. It's really energy when we're coming right down to it, but there's a physical aspect to the axis, and that's the backbone. So we're literally melding energy and matter when we do the axis practice. And axis is a practice that's found in probably all traditions where we're becoming aware of our connection between what's above and what's below, and how all of that runs right through us as a human being, right through this physical,
Yeah.
bio, electromagnetic, wondrous
Yes.
humanness.
Yes. If I can interject for one
Please.
second, and link this to other things happening in our spirit partners' work. I have shared not very much, but some significant things about this sound healer that I've explained to you, Tom Kenyon, and he channels these interdimensional spiritual beings called the Hathors, and actually has written a book about it. And the Hathors are giving instruction on how, I mean, one of the most fundamental things is how to activate this thing they call, and I think this is similar to what the Hindus would call the pranic tube, but it's basically the axis in the body. So this is, in fact, very familiar to a lot of, or fundamental, I should say, to a lot of the spiritual tradition work. I mean, it's really consistent with that work. So
It,
please
it,
go ahead.
yeah, it really is. And I'll just say, because we're here in this moment of the conversation, that it's so common that it makes the kind of religious wars ridiculous because there are so many commonalities between all of the different traditions that it's just sort of silly that somebody would say our way is the only way because it's just the way. So here we are with the axis, that line of energy that connects us to all that is above and below and that runs through us. And one of the important aspects of Hike for Evolution is that it's scientifically grounded in what we know as Western science. It's grounded in science. That's why when we talk about axis, we talk about it as our backbone. It's physiologically present. It's actually exists within the body. It's not some airy-fairy woo-woo kind of intangible thing
Yes.
until you get to the energy level of it. And then it's not too difficult to jump from this is my physiology, my backbone, where I can think about all of those little articulations on everything, single spinal, process and the way that they come together and build that spinal cord. And then within that is the nervous system, that central nervous system, that column that goes up and down between brain and body and brain. But all of the electromagnetic impulses that go through that spinal cord are energy. And so there's this physiological location for the axis for this energetic process that every single one of us is enjoying or utilizing every single day as we move our bodies.
Uh-huh.
I
Yep.
just I just think that's amazing. So when we start thinking about centering ourselves using this concept of axis, the second you start thinking about your backbone, you've centered your awareness within yourself. It's so
Hmm.
easy. Just thinking about your axis. You can extend it all the way to the top of your head and all the way to the tip of your tailbone. And that kind of gives you this oscillating attention between up and down and up. And as you're thinking about up and down and down and up, you're helping to build these pathways of travel. And travel for what? Information, energy,
Hmm.
right? So that would be further along as you become more familiar with yourself on all of these different levels, then a lot of this starts to knit together and make more sense. So
Well,
access,
what you're waking up are what may often be for people dormant things within their own already existing spinal electronic network, et cetera, of nerves, et cetera.
yes,
You're waking them up. And
that's
when
right.
they awaken, oh, then all kinds of things can happen that haven't been happening because we haven't been using them.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And as we do this and the waking up occurs, then awareness starts to come in. And what I tell most of my clients and students is when you start developing awareness, you begin noticing things that you weren't noticing before. Sometimes those things are
That's right.
uncomfortable. And we have to have tools, ways to move through that discomfort. I encourage anybody who's experiencing discomfort as they're waking up and as their awareness is growing to just be present with sensation. Just be present with it. Don't try to label it good or bad or make it this or that or the other. Just be present with it and notice the quality of whatever the sensations or perceptions are that you're having. So, those are other really important concepts in this Hike for Evolution system: sensation, perception, awareness. This is all
Mhm.
what we're really cultivating as we do this work, right, Bill?
Yeah, absolutely. So keep going.
Yeah.
This is great.
So once we activate our axis, and this would be the very beginnings of a daily practice, and another very important concept in Hike for Evolution is daily practice. Real change comes from the application of willpower, not just willpower, but a specific kind of willpower that is developed through the discipline of daily practice. Lianna calls that high will, or Higg will, from the Higgs boson.
Mhm.
And as you develop this discipline of daily practice, you begin to cultivate what are called elixirs, what are called frequencies or energies, and they are stored in different energy centers in the body. And those would be advanced concepts. But just to know that the second you're connecting with your axis, you're making a way for you to begin storing those really refined and elevated frequencies and energies that become more, are increased as we do these practices.
Wow. Yeah. So you're becoming your own self-generation machine in a sense.
Yes. Yes, you are definitely. And so after we activate the axis, we activate the third leg, which is just an extension of that axis, and it comes out the tailbone, landing on the earth, just creating a little bit of a tripod between right leg and left leg. And then you have this energetic third leg. We might call it the earth leg. For grounding, it helps us connect to the earth energetically. The axis just connects there, and we're just naming it third leg. But the third leg also has the opportunity or possibility to be a portal for us to release negativity into the
Mhm.
earth, grounding energy, using it as an anchor, using it as a way to draw energies from the earth as you become skilled in using your intention to move energies, to work with energies, to utilize the different levels of information that are available to us as we start working with ourselves at these levels. So we've got
So
axis and three
yeah.
legs.
So we imagine this energy tube, as it were, within us or our spine, able to move energy up and down. But then we imagine this is an imaginary projection of an energy channel. I like to call them channels or pathway that
Yes.
goes down the back, okay, and out behind, so that we've got this triangular stance
Yeah.
so that we're balanced. And that becomes a key grounder for us, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it becomes a really supportive stance. So if you were standing up, you might have your feet hips width distance apart, and then just leaning back on that third leg like it's a little tripod, like it gives you just a little bit of extra support. And
Mhm.
just knowing you could practice standing that way in the grocery store or in line if you're waiting for so many things we have to wait in line for, or just as you're taking care of business at home, you might take that really supportive stance and give yourself just a little bit of extra support.
Okay. But
So
it becomes a tool in this process.
it's absolutely a tool. It's a supportive tool.
Abs-
It's a portal, it's a pathway, it's a grounder. There are so many ways to use that energetic grounded earth leg. Yes, it becomes a tool.
Yes, I've explained in some of my own personal videos that I've done here about moving energy from, I don't know where, but some specific point, up here, down through the body and out these channels that in many cases we've just mentally created the pathway or the channel, and it goes out somewhere to outer space.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what can happen when you're out there. So,
Yeah.
but this is evoking us using our imagination and opening up those channels, which are there to
Yeah.
project the energies. I mean, we're awakening kind of the whole system.
Yeah. And I just want to clarify that you're using the word imagination, and I know that you understand this, but I want everybody who's watching this video to understand we're not pretending. We are literally using the imaginative power that we have mentally. We're using mental power to create or to think an abstract thought. So, so it's a purposeful use of this capacity that we have that kind of gets trained out of people at really young ages, don't you think, Bill, with all of this screen time and just TV in general, or any time that you are encouraged to look outside of yourself at all of these images.
Well, thank you for clarifying that about imagination, because in the two or three examples that I've given already in mine, I have I have explained experiences I've had when I've done this deliberate projecting of the energy through these channels that my imagination could never have come up with. Okay,
That's
I mean,
right.
I'm not creating fantasy. This is altogether too tangible and too real to be called imagination.
That's right.
It's
It's
just,
really, 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 really real.
yeah.
It's very real. It's probably more real than the table you're sitting at, right? Because it's the connection that we have to that primordial soup where or the dark matter that from which everything arises.
Oh boy, keep going here.
If you want to go
Yeah,
there.
you're
Yeah.
into yeah, you're into wild territory. So please keep going.
So why would we want to do axis? Why would we want to use the third leg? And mostly, practically, we want to be able to center and we want to be able to ground ourselves. I don't know who's watching these videos, but the world is kind of on fire right now. Whether you are in the Palisades of California or, all of the earthquakes that are kind of erupting, there's a lot going on. And the more we can stay centered and the more we can stay grounded, the more capacity we have to deal with the chaos around us all the time. It doesn't matter if it's just regular everyday chaos or if it's all of that global stuff that is really kind of sparking fear for people. So that's the practical reason why we would want to use those two skills.
Well, thank you for that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So then we would move into using the power of our focused, aware concentration, which is a biofeedback term, applied focus and concentration. When we apply our focus and concentration to certain things, we begin to build a mental habit. And so the next practice is building the mental habit of perceiving all of our senses. And the practice is called CATSK,
Hmm.
CATS, K, if you want to put that on the end, because it's for kinesthetic
Yeah.
perception, which would be anything on the surface of your skin or maybe even underneath the surface of your skin. So color, aroma, taste, and sound, that would be cats. And then we want to add something with texture or kinesthetic perception because this is our sensory world. This is the way that we experience the world, the way that our limbic brain begins to experience the world, begins to maybe um, project the smell of a rose or the color of a sunset, or it kind of projects it on that screen of our mind.
Hmm.
And we want to develop this skill of using all of our senses, of using all of them, not just to the exclusion, like we're very visually dominant in our culture. And we want to be good at using every single one of our senses across the board. I like to call it extrasensory. And
Aha.
I think people would argue with me about what that means, but I think as we bring all of our senses online, like I can close my eyes, I don't even have to close my eyes. I can think of a color and it's right there. Think of an aroma, think of a taste. It's right there. Think of a sound. All of these things, your brain doesn't know you're not actually experiencing that color or that aroma or that taste or that sound. It just, as you conjure it, as you perceive it, as you call it forth, as you apply your focus and concentration to that sensory information, you begin to build pathways, color, aroma, front to back, back to front, taste and sound, right to left, left and right. We're building pathways up to down, down to up, side to side, front to back, back to front. So when we use our applied focus and concentration to develop the skill of noticing all of our senses, then we build this kind of lattice of connections between all of the different areas of our brain so that when we need information maybe from the cerebellum about movement or where the body is, and we want to connect it with, how are we going to use our imagination today? We've got pathways that help that information travel where it's supposed to, versus just being visually dominant and having the kind of habituated idea of if I need new information, maybe I should go to the library versus looking inside where there
Yes.
might be access to the collective unconscious.
Yep. To the ultimate encyclopedia of everything.
Ultimate encyclopedia.
Let me, if I may, clarify about the up, down, back, forth, etc. All right. I have found that to be an extremely useful thing. The imagination, maybe for people to get started, is to imagine something like a ping pong ball in their head and moving the ping pong ball across, okay, the lateral, okay, across from left to right, so that they're building that connection, and from front projecting that ping pong ball to be way out here on our forehead to way back there where our visual sensors are, and moving the energy around, and you can absolutely feel these the field of energy, that sort of nexus of it, moving back and forth and up and down, and etc. And I mean, that really creates mental flexibility
Yeah.
because it's, yeah, and certainly services the ability to envision, perceive mentally, okay, the multiple patterns of these senses, an aroma and a smell. and a sight and a image. I mean, move them around. All of that just builds more and more and more flexibility.
Absolutely. I love that word. It is. It creates this mental flexibility. It also creates an emotional flexibility. And it creates a physical flexibility. The mental flexibility, the emotional flexibility. What biofeedback has taught us is that when we change our brain waves, there's a correlating effect in our behavior, in our emotional expression, and in the way that our body moves. If we're training our body through somatic practice, there's also a correlating effect in emotional expression and in behavior and in mental flexibility. And so it's top down and bottom up. Just wanted to say that.
Wow. Well, and professional athletics has and moving its way down into amateur athletics has been doing a lot more of this of this mental
Yes.
imagining of what the motions have to be, what the ball going through the hoop. I mean, all these kinds of things.
Yes.
It's totally consistent with what you're trying to build
Yeah, that's
people.
right. That it's not just actually a physical practice, that when you can mentally explore it and do it mentally, it actually enhances your real capacity.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing stuff. So we've got the grounding, we've got the centering, we've got the whole brain with all of the senses that we're working on developing as we use that practice cats. And so those are really the first three basic practices of hike. And I would say anybody who is interested in going further in their lives to be all that they want to be, start with all of those practices.
Yes. I mean the basics, because everything else you want to do in a more complicated way depends on how well you have established those basics. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Whether you're
Well, tell
dancing or
us.
whether you're growing,
Yeah. Well, tell us more. Okay. So you've got the basics.
we've got
Are
the
there
basic basics.
And you said there were five different things that you emphasize early on.
Yes. And so we've got axis, we've got three legs, we've got cats, and then we have a practice called clocks. Now, what clocks does is it helps us synchronize right and left brain hemispheres. Why do we need that? Well, a lot of us are dominant in one or the other hemispheres of our brain. Artists are said to be right brain dominant, intellectuals are said to be left brain dominant. I'm not a neuroscientist, but I have seen some of those just kind of maybe they're stereotypes or maybe they're just labels on people. When we start to use a practice like clocks, where one hand is doing something completely different from the other hand, and I just mean literally like going half as fast or twice as fast. Um, and you begin to bring energy from right to left and left to right and build a pathway across the corpus callosum, which is that space in between the right and left hemispheres of the brain. And the more um, the stronger those pathways are, the more information can travel from right to left or left to right, where you become more of a whole brain person versus right brain dominant or left brain dominant. And I guess that would be a good thing for most people.
Well, I guess it not only would it be a good thing, but you're reminding me of the challenge it can be to move one hand, wait, twice as fast as the other, or one move counter only half as fast as the other one is. I mean, this requires, wow, really significant rewiring that is invaluable in
Yeah,
terms of coordination and balance
absolutely.
and those sorts of things. I mean, it's an absolutely wonderful, wonderful practice.
It is, and it's tricky, and it is wonderful. And the more you practice and the more you build those pathways, the it's so interesting how it helps to shift and build the brain at those lower levels that we were talking about, not insignificant levels, but like those less conscious aspects of our brain, like the subconscious and the unconscious and the instinctive mind and the reflexive mind, as we move our bodies in purposeful ways, synchronizing our breath and using imagery and using intention, then we begin to affect those different levels of mind. So that's why the somatic part of the practices are so important, because we want to be able to change that instinctive and reflexive mind.
Yeah. Well, I I owe a lot to Lianna for balancing my brain
Nice.
more than it was.
Yeah.
Because in the work I was doing and in the ways she was relying on me to assist her at times, she was depending an awful lot on my left brain.
Yeah.
But no, the other one, yeah, as you just build this whole brain capacity, it's wonderful. I mean, it just
Yeah. It makes things easier. It makes just the mental flexibility alone can be invaluable.
mhm.
Yeah, really, really incredible. So, a fifth practice that we would teach to all brand new students of the Hike for Evolution system would be some sort of a letting go practice. Sometimes we teach sweeping and gathering cords. Sometimes we teach balloons. There are a number of different letting go practices, like a backpack practice, or a river or a mountain practice, story, metaphor, image that we would use. But the fifth practice that we want everybody to get really skilled at is letting go. And when I say, do you know how to let go? Just think about how tricky that seems when you're thinking about something that really has a lot of emotional content for you, or
That's
something
right.
that, right? Or something that has a real intellectual pull for you. Or maybe it's some sort of physical sensation that you just can't quite push to the back of your mind. Letting go is trickier than it sounds. And so having specific practices for it help us just take the garbage out every single day. In acupuncture, they have certain pressure points that they push so that your energy clears itself. And most, I would say, just many, many systems have letting go practices. And the practices that we teach are sweeping and balloons. So, I'm not going to demonstrate those for you right now, but you can kind of imagine sending balloons of just um, unnecessary energy off into the universe so that they are no longer in your own field. And as you use these practices, you begin to refine your energy, you begin to clean your whole field. Your morphologic field is what we're talking about. If you're part of some other system that might call it your aura, we're really just talking
Mhm.
about the field of energy that is surrounding the body out to about the tips of your fingertips. Um, we also call it the second skin. And so, as we do these practices, learning to let go, refining our energy, grounding and centering, raising our vibration, we're really cleaning our second skin, our morphologic field, so that we can begin to fill it with all of this wonderful good energy that is coming through as we develop ourselves.
Well, the analogy here is if you don't sweep the floor, it's hard it's hard to bring new furniture in, et cetera, and just dump it on the dirty floor.
That's right.
Um, I mean, which is not the world's greatest analogy, but um, this is common to what other people call attachments, where we just get emotionally we're just hanging on to, whether it's a belief or a pattern or a whatever, that is somehow providing a security reward to us and is undermining everything we really want to do. It's how do we truly release that and get its energetic effect out and away?
That's right. Yep. And that's so tricky to conceptualize, isn't it, Bill? Just the sheer amount of s- psychic material in our heads from birth to now is enormous. And how do we let go of limiting beliefs? How do we shift habits that are lifelong? It's really, really tricky if you don't have the tools to do it. But Hike for Evolution can give you a systematic framework to go through all of that stuff, developing yourself while you're letting go of this other stuff and you're just creating this amazing new energy field for yourself.
Do you have, in the work that you're doing with this, the way you're applying it, do you have a way for people to identify what some of those limiting beliefs might be and really get in touch with, people say what's in their way, what's blocking the flow of what they really want? I mean,
Yeah.
down to the substance of it. Do you
Yeah,
do that?
there are definitely ways that we can do that. When I'm working as a psychotherapist, that would be a major part of what we would do in psychotherapy. We're learning these practices, but then we would be excavating history to kind of uncover those limiting self-beliefs or the cleaning the river of all of the rocks and boulders that are inhibiting its flow. That's really what we're doing on a metaphoric level, is
Yes.
we're clearing a pathway so that our energy can flow more optimally. And so, yes, there are psychotherapeutic practices, there are tapping practices, there are a myriad of ways that we can use to help people identify what their limiting beliefs are that are holding them back.
Good. Tell us more about whether you have classes doing this, that is, groups working together collectively, or whether all of this is one-on-one
Yeah.
practice where you're developing these skills.
Yes. Yes. We have done one-to-one. We have done um, right now, the way to access the system is through a school platform under my name because we developed a couple of different ways of presenting this material. Spiral one, you can just do on your own. It's a self-study. If you're interested in learning in a group of individuals like yourself who are looking to develop and transform, then we do have group opportunities where we have 8 classes of group instruction where we go through the first several spirals and all of the practices, and we do that together in a group in live classes. And so those are scheduled periodically throughout the year, and the next one will be starting sometime in March.
In our previous episode, we talked about the machines. Um, maybe we should, as a reminder here, where does that fit in? Is that really just for advanced individual work or what? Please clarify.
Yeah. So the machines that you're referring to, you're talking about biofeedback and neurofeedback machines, correct?
Yeah, yes.
Yes. And so biofeedback and neurofeedback are a huge part of the Hike for Evolution system. The feedback technology is not required for the practices to work. Doing the practices on their own will get you where you want to go quicker than if you were to go sit in a cave and meditate for 40 years. You'll get to that place of quiet mind quicker. Like might take you a few years, but it's not going to take you 40 years. When you add biofeedback and neurofeedback technology to your strategy of using these practices on a daily basis, it accelerates your learning and shortens the duration of transformation to between 6 and 9 months. And so you can really put yourself on a fast track if you add biofeedback and neurofeedback training to this system of somatic practices and mindfulness practices. And the biofeedback and neurofeedback equipment that was developed for the Hike for Evolution system is available through Thought Technology. If you're interested in having some biofeedback or neurofeedback equipment and you're interested in learning how to train yourself, then please get in touch with me. I can direct you to how to do that.
You mentioned briefly a while ago, I'm going to bring up the word breathing, all right? Because I can't imagine doing some of the biofeedback work that we did and the way it helped me without really focusing on how the breath itself and tracking the breath. What is your breath doing? How it enhances and affects the other things. Okay. It's not just breathe slowly, etc. It's like literally trace how and where it's moving and the pace of it and the intensity of
Yeah.
it and letting, I mean, just the degree of awareness that that builds is just remarkable.
It really is. Well, I mean, we all breathe every single day, and it's breathing is built in, it's automatic. We don't have to think about it unless you have some sort of a breathing disorder or some sort of heart issue that makes it tricky to breathe. But when we bring awareness to our breath, it changes everything. When we start to use our breath as a tool in conjunction with movement, we begin to open more pathways and more possibilities. For some reason, it's like a portal when you connect your breath with movement and with awareness. And
Yes.
so breathing is one of the it's foundational. We talk about it throughout all of the training and all of the classes, and it is something that you're directed to be aware of all the time. And when you start thinking about your breathing all the time, it can kind of get tedious, but pay attention to what happens when you notice that you're breathing and you're expanding your breath and you're completely releasing your breath and you're aware in this moment that you're breathing, but you're also listening to me, but you're also breathing and you're paying attention to the sensation in your body, but you're breathing also. I mean, it really becomes this dance of being aware on multiple levels all the
Yeah.
time.
Yes. And at least in my experience, what you can do with your breath is move positive energy down into specific places in the body that may be holding pain or some kind of density, etc., and literally use it as a vehicle for releasing that.
It becomes a tool. Your breath becomes a tool. It can be a laser, it can be a blanket of nurturing, it can be something that is like just like something that is powerful. I mean, there are so many things. I'm glad you brought that up, Bill.
Oh, good. Well, let's assume that a student has gone through sort of a basic level of learning these foundational tools and processes. Where would you then take them further? I mean, beyond that, just tease us a little bit, and maybe we can talk about that in greater depth next time.
Yeah,
Well,
where would we take them just in terms of once they, I mean, I, I mean this seriously. I'm saying it to you, Bill, because you understand. Um, take them through spiral 16 and see where that gets you. Maybe it gets you a table at the or a seat at the galactic table. Unsure. But I will say, just kind of as a little teaser, as you the longer you practice, the more high will that you store in your cups, Dantian, in your Dantian cups, the more you have available to accomplish whatever goals you have set for yourself. And so the discipline of daily practice isn't just about having a healthy routine. It's about the cultivation of the kind of energy that creates a field of peace and goodwill within yourself and within all beings. And it's just really something that we all need.
I I have just recorded an episode of an experience that I had at Lianna's, um, in which some very remarkable things happened. But what came to me as sort of the defining elements in all of us, that if we could really awaken and evoke those elements, how amazing our lives would be. And there were four words given to me in a process, okay, that happened during one of her workshops, okay? Love, joy, wisdom, and peace. And if we could do the integration of that, I mean, if those were literally the defining elements in our lives, what a different world we'd have.
Yeah.
And yeah, I will never forget that experience, and I've applied that just endlessly in my own life.
That's so beautiful. And I think that's really Leanna's purpose in handing this material down to all of her students is that she really wants to leave a legacy of peace and has committed that to her own energetic being and has been dictated that by beings beyond her. And it's really a torch I'm happy to carry.
Yeah. Well, let us in closing just give further gratitude to her
Yeah.
for her willingness to share some of these incredible things with us. Certainly for you over a longer period of time than for me. But what I gained in the, I'm going to call it about the 5 year period in which I worked with her most intensively. Um, wow. I mean, what the work did and the benefits that it wrought were just extraordinary.
Yeah. Priceless.
Yep. Well, let's remind our viewers. Surely we're going to be doing more interviews here and more discussions about the depth and impact of this work. But if you
Exciting.
want to find out more right now in what's on the website, it's HIKE in all caps, the number four, and then the word, excuse me, evolution.
Yep.
And everything you want to know and
Everything
we're
you want to
afraid to
know.
ask is going
Yep.
to be there.
Absolutely. And so you can look at Hike for Evolution. You can find me, Alistair M. Hawkes, on the team page. And then if you go to my website from there, you can see those classes that I shared with you. And then there are 9 spirals actually available on the Hike for Evolution website.
Wonderful. Thank you. And there'll be more.
Thank you,
And
Bill. It's
audience,
always a
yeah.
pleasure.
Well, we really appreciate this, viewers. So come back for more. It's exciting work. It's deep and wonderful and practical and exciting. And I have to say, tangible work. I mean, it really makes a difference. So thank you all and see you again. Bye-bye.